Okay, y'all, bear with me. I don't have somebody to do the camera for me today. So hopefully you can see me and everything will go okay. Welcome to Undead Yarn. My name is Heidi, and you can find me on Ravelry and Plurk as Knitty Girl, KNITTYGIRL. And I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as KnittyGirl1, and that's the number 1. My shop is undeadyarn.etsy.com, and at this point I'm not sure if I'm going to record every week or every other week. The reason I haven't recorded, it's been a while since my last recording, is I was at Comic-Con in San Diego with my husband. He's a comic artist, and he has a couple of comics out. And so he usually goes every year, and I've been able to go with him the last 2 years since I'm also his editor. And we had a really good time. The weather was wonderful, because over here in Texas right now it's in the 90s and 100s almost every day, and it's evil. But it was wonderful. It was in the 70s. And I actually wore a jacket the last day because it wasn't, I don't even know if it reached 70 degrees. So that was a nice getaway, and I will talk a little bit about that later when I show you guys some of the things I got at Comic-Con. I'm going to go ahead and dive right into what I'm knitting, since it seemed like people wanted to know about that. Here's my first thing I've been working on for a while. This is a tank top, and unfortunately I did not bring the pattern with me. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and you can find it on my projects page. I'm sure I'll still be working on this the next time that I podcast, so maybe I can name it then. And I'm using Knit Picks. The brown is Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the Fedora colorway. It's a brown. And then the bottom is Fiddle Knits, and it's her harvest yarn, and it actually was part of a yarn and shawl club that she had. It was the first one she ever had, and I started making I believe it was the Harvest Moon shawl, and it was like, you have to cast on 800 or some stitches, and I really liked it, and it was an easy shawl, but it was a lot of knitting back and forth, and I don't remember when you started decreasing or if you even decreased, but I kind of got stalled out on that, and I realized I probably wasn't going to finish it, so I frogged it, and I'm using it for my tank top now. It's kind of cute on the sides. It has a little split right here, so I like it. And I'm using my Addi Turbos, and these are US 11s and 8.0 millimeters. Okay, that's my first project. I'm also working on, my Adam Ant bag. Love Adam Ant. I am a child of the 80s. Some people are surprised when they find out how old I am. I am actually 43 years old. So I've been a long time fan of his. This is a test knit, and it's actually, I think it's in one of the top 10 popular patterns on Ravelry right now. This is Nazar. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but N-A-Z-A-R. It's by Lisa Much, and it's a circular shawl. And I'm going to be kind of careful with how I show you guys right now, because I stopped in the middle of a row, because it's very easy, so I don't feel like I lose my place. I do have some errors. The errors are mine, they're not hers. I was kind of lazy on my count, so sometimes when I transitioned, I didn't transition on the right row, and so you can see an extra row of the color mixed in. But I love it. This is yarn from Yarn Paradise, or no, Paradise Yarns, and the brown is a rayon and linen, 50% rayon, 50% linen, and the other one has cotton and rayon and linen in it, and they're both weaving cones. I can show you the cone, this one. And it probably says in here exactly what it is. It is rayon, cotton, and flax. That's what it is, rayon, cotton, and flax. So hopefully this will be a nice, it's going to be a very big shawl because you need a lot of yards for this shawl. But I'm thinking it'll be a nice shawl for like cool nights in the summer, since it's got rayon and linen in it. And this is the other thing, a second thing I'm working on. And this one I'm trying to finish. I'm pretty close. I'm like almost like 80 to 90% done with this one. And when I went to Comic-Con, of course I had to take something with me, so I started a new project. And this is a sock in Knit Picks Felici, and this in the goth colorway. I don't really think it's goth colors, but I like the colors. I probably would not have called this goth. And the pattern I'm using is one by Kristen Kapoor. It's called Nasturtium anklets. I don't know, that sounds like a flower. But maybe you can see it's got a chevron pattern on it. And I really don't like to do patterns on the foot. I kind of like them just to be vanilla. So I did the pattern on the top part. And then once I reached the foot, I stopped the patterning. So this is my first one. And then the last thing I'm working on, I'm using some of the yarn that I did. It's a gradient yarn that I dyed. What I did is I balled it up on my ball winder, and then I put the ball in like a low, do you call it low immersion dyeing? I didn't fill the water over the skein. I filled it up maybe 3/4 of the way for the skein, and then I put it in and dyed it. And I was still using Kool-Aid at that time. So what I'm doing is I'm knitting a shawl out of this to see what it looks like. This is how much I have left, and I think it's going to be plenty. This is actually recycled wool. It's from a sweater I undid. And I'm not sure how much of the patterning you're going to be able to see for this. This is called the Rustic Autumn Shawl. And I believe it's by Knit Pearl Girl, the woman who passed away last year. Yes, it's by Carrie Steinmetz. And actually, I was very sad when that happened. I was just starting to get to know her. We shared the same birthday, and we found out on Plurk, and then we would message back and forth sometimes after that. I like the pattern. It's not hard. It started at the top, and now it's growing. And I don't know if you can see, you can't really see the patterning, but up here is just regular, it's kind of like a garter stitch, and then down here it's patterning. Let's see, is that garter? I believe it is, that's what it looks like. Not quite, well, let's see. It looks like it was garter at the beginning. Not quite, there were some yarn overs and knit two togethers and stuff. But anyway, I really like how the colors are coming out. I had a lot of blue at the top, and then now it's just kind of scattered. And when I get to the bottom, if you look at the yarn, it looks like it's really blue, so I'm hoping that the edging will be really dark. And this one, I'm also using Addies. I use Addies a lot. I have an interchangeable set. This is a US 8 5mm needle. I'm trying to think of what I was using. Yeah, these are Addies too. Oh no, these are Hiya Hiyas for my sock, I'm using Haya. Is it Haya or Chagu? No, it's Chagu. Yeah, these are Chagu. It says right here. And this is a size 1. I always do my socks on size 1. I really am liking the Chagus, and I also like the Hayas. They have nice points on them, and I like the cables. And the big shawl I was using, I had the Nazar shawl. I was using my Denise because I have really long cables. You need at least, I would say, a 40-inch, probably longer if you have it, cable for that shawl, because it gets really big, and now it's all bunched up on my needles, and I kind of wish I had a bigger cable for it. So that one, I would probably use a bigger cable to knit it. And I said last time I was going to talk about some of my favorite audio podcasts. That's what I actually started listening to initially. Back in 2006 when I started knitting, it was so funny. I got really passionate about it really quickly. And, found out about Ravelry, started listening to Stash and Burn. That was the first podcast I listened to. And Stash and Burn and the Knitmore Girls are the two that I think if you've never listened to audio podcasts, you must listen to them because they're very knowledgeable and they go into detail about a lot of things. Knitmore Girls and Stash and Burn have also started getting into sewing. I don't really sew much, but they talk about that a little bit too. And then another podcast I really like that I listen to a lot is Knitting Rose, and she has she dyes and sells her own yarns. She's from Dallas. And I think I like her podcast so much because she likes a lot of the same things I like. She talks about reading, and they were reading Aragon, and I talked about how I was listening to Brissinger, and I just finished that actually. And she likes a lot of the same TV shows that I like. She also likes, they were listening to or watching Dexter and The Walking Dead, and I love those shows. And in her podcast, she also talks a little bit about cooking. She usually talks about a recipe that she did, and she talks about some of her personal life. She's on a hiatus right now, but she said she's going to start podcasting again in August, so watch out for that. I also am a really big reader. When I was an undergraduate in college, I was an English major, and I was going to be an English teacher. The two podcasts I really enjoy listening to because they talk about books a lot are Two Knit Lit Chicks. They talk a lot about their knitting, and they know a lot about knitting, but they also go into what they're reading a lot, and they go into detail about the books. So it's kind of neat. You get to hear about different books if you like to read. And then I also like Craftlit because she talks about crafts at the beginning of the podcast, and then the second part of her podcast she does she talks about a book. And what she does is she either gets the people. She uses LibriVox often because they have recorded books that are out of copyright, and she'll play the chapter and then she talks about it because she's an English teacher, so it's really great. You get to go into depth a lot about different books. Right now she's reading The Age of Innocence, and The Age of Innocence is being read by Brenda Dane. So if you haven't listened to her and you like to read and you like classic literature, I would definitely recommend listening to her podcast. And the other one that I really enjoy is Jane and Jen Knit Funny because they are just hilarious. They just make me laugh. And they talk about what they're knitting. They talk about the different things that they're doing in their lives. And it's not kid friendly. I wouldn't listen to it if your children are around. But it's really funny. I don't know much more to say than that because that's the main reason I really enjoy their podcast is they just make me laugh. So what I'm going to do now, since I told you about the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the things I got at Comic-Con because I didn't really buy any yarn this week, which I think is good because I have plenty. The first thing I got were these earrings, and I don't know if you can see them. I'll hold them up a little bit closer. These are teeth with fangs. I love vampire books and vampire novels and vampire TV shows, so I had to get these when I saw them. I thought that was great. Our badge was pretty cool. I got rid of the badge already, but I kept my my lanyard because it says I love Dexter, and I do love Dexter. And I got a bunch of pins, and most of them are from books, because I looked at the book section a lot. I did get one. I went to the Grimm panel, so they did hand out these at the Grimm panel. It's the main character who has now become a zombie. And then this one, this is my favorite one, and I think I'm going to put it on my big knitting bag that I take with me when I go to my knitting group. It's called, it says, I'm a crafter, ask me about audiobooks. Now, I do read a lot, and I still read regular books. I read stuff on Kindle, mostly still regular books, though. I guess I'm just old school, but I do like to listen to audiobooks, too. There are times when, you know, I want to knit, and I can't read a book. Some people have mastered it, I guess, but I can't really read a book while I'm knitting. So what I usually do is I listen to audiobooks or I listen to podcasts. And while I was there, I picked up, of course I had to pick up a Comic-Con t-shirt. And I love this one. This is Mobius, and I guess it's a new character, I think in Sandman series. I'm not sure, because I tried to read Sandman before and it just confused me. But I love the shirt. And I also bought a Lost Girl t-shirt because I love this TV show. It's about, she's a fairy, and I guess you have to watch it to see more what it's about, but I wouldn't, this is also not kid-friendly. I would not let a kid watch True Blood. I don't think I would let a child watch Lost Girl either. And then the other thing I bought was this. And these are just coloring pages, but they had so many people selling their art. And I love the art, but I thought it would be cool to have the art and put my own colors in so I could do whatever colors I wanted. And she does this on really nice paper. Let me see if I can, I have her card in here. Her name is Hannah Lynn, and she says she has a shop on Etsy. And they're really cute pictures. I love them. This one looks kind of like a mermaid. And then she has one that's a fairy. And I think that's kind of what drew me to this one. But she has a bunch of different things. She puts a package together, and they're separate pages, and they're on nice paper. So I'm not sure if I'm going to frame them or if I'm just going to do them for fun, but we'll see. I really like this. It's really neat. It's called, her name is Hannah Lynn, and this is Hannah Lynn Art, by Hannah Lynn Art and Design. And I guess, since I'm getting to the end, I forgot to show you what I spun. I was a tour to fail. All I did was that one skein of yarn I showed you guys last time. And this is, but I did spin this during Tour de Fleece, and this is some yarn that or not yarn, it's fiber that I dyed up. I'm trying to dye up fiber. I'm not sure if I'm going to be selling it or not, but we'll see. I kind of like it. I'll have to see what it looks like when I'm done with it. I'm not sure. At first I was thinking I wasn't going to ply it, but I might ply it just to see what it looks like when it's done. I think it might be some cool barber pulling. And last but not least, we'll talk about some of the things I put up in the shop this week that are new. This was my first one. This one I dyed up for Sock Bunny of the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit podcast. I actually donated one to her podcast for her to keep, and one for her to give away during her sock extravaganza. This is inspired by her favorite